Today we're going to start chapter 4. We're going to go through just lesson 1, cells and body systems. If you want to follow along in your book, it starts on page 148, 149. We already completed some of this in class before we left. Cells and their functions. The smallest part of your body that carries out the activities of life is called a cell. Cells are the basic units of all living things. You can think of cells as Legos. When you have one Lego brick, this is called Lego bricks. You have one Lego brick, it looks like a Lego, okay? About the size of your finger. It has some pointy things coming off of it. Looks like a brick. But if you put enough Lego bricks together, you could make something. That's what cells are. You are your cells. You are a combination of trillions of different types of cells. The tiniest, though, of organisms are only a single cell. You are a multicellular organism, though, because you are made of multiple types of cells, of which there are hundreds of millions of those types in your body. So multicell organisms like you have many cells. Cells and their functions. Most cells are too tiny to be seen by the eye alone. A single drop of blood can hold millions of red blood cells, for example. Many cells have functions, and those functions could be a multitude of things. For example, like we said before, red blood cells are for your blood. And in this chapter, we will learn what the function of blood is. Spoiler alert, it's a delivery system. Cells and their functions continue. Cells must take in food and get rid of waste. Cells use food to grow and repair wounds. Cells sense and respond to changes in their surroundings. They communicate and cooperate with other cells. Okay, cells, again, you are your cells. But cells are constantly doing a job. They don't just turn off. They go through a life cycle like all animals do, all plants as well. They do have a life cycle, but from the time they are created to the time that they're no longer a part of you, they are doing a specific job. For example, a blood cell does not decide one day to become a skin cell. It stays a blood cell for a total life cycle. It will continue performing the functions that a blood cell has to do until it goes through its whole life cycle. Cells communicate and cooperate with other cells in order to get jobs done. Depending on what the cell is, what type of cell it is, it has a specific job to do. Let's talk about animal cells. Most of the things your body does are really done inside the cells. As you can see on this picture, I have the anatomy of an animal cell. This is a great picture of an animal cell. You've seen cells before in 3rd and 4th grade. This is just a more detailed picture of what a cell is. The different parts of the cell, the anatomy of the cell, those are called organelles, kind of like the organs of the cell. And there's many different organelles. There's the cell membrane, the nucleus, nucleolus, vacuole, lysosome, cytoplasm, mitochondria. You have the endoplasmic reticulum. You have the Golgi complex. These are just some of the basic parts of the cell. And in 7th grade, you'll learn about these as well, and we'll go in more detail. For example, there is a smooth endoplasmic reticulum, and there's a rough endoplasmic reticulum. That's a more detailed look at the cell, though. In 5th grade, we're not going to do that. We're just going to learn about some of the basic parts of the cell. First basic part we're going to learn about is the cell membrane. The cell membrane surrounds a cell and holds the parts of the cell together. It allows certain other materials, such as carbon dioxide and other waste products, to exit. So think of the room that you're in. The room that surrounds you has walls. Most likely has a door. Now, how do you get in and out of the room? Well, you could run through the wall and go through the door. Please don't run through the wall. The wall and the door are like the cell membrane. They let things in, they let things out. You want to lock out your little sister, you close the door, lock the door. That's not nice. Don't be mean to your little sister. But that is the function of the cell membrane. Keep certain things in, certain things out. To let things in, to let things out. Next organelle we're going to talk about is the nucleus. The nucleus is the part of the cell that contains chromosomes. Chromosomes carry the instructions for the cell to do its job. Okay, it tells the cell what to do. It tells the cell what type of cell it is. It houses what we will eventually know as the DNA for that cell. And that tells the cell where to be, what to be, and how to do its job. Moving on. Cytoplasm. So I want you to close your eyes real quick. I want you to picture a bowl of Jello. Got it? Good. Now I want you to picture a different type of bowl of Jello. One that you probably haven't seen before. I want you to picture it with fruit inside of it. Let's say we were making Jello and we dropped in a can of fruit. Let's say the fruit has, let's go tropical. Where we got some peaches, some citrus, some other things that you never see except in a can of fruit. And then we put that Jello in the refrigerator, it hardens up. Now, as you're eating the Jello, you get to some of those parts, those fruity parts, tropical fruits, those fruits that you never see except in a can of fruit. Passion fruit, we call it. Now, anything that's not Jello is fruit. Anything that's the fruit is not Jello, right? Well, that's what one of the organelles is like. It's called cytoplasm. In this picture, everything that's blue is cytoplasm. If it's not blue, then it's something else. Cytoplasm is the gel-like fluid that contains the cell's parts. It is all the material between the cell membrane and the nucleus. And here's a little picture that I pulled from a TV show. You know, I like talking about TV shows. Of somebody who put a stapler in a bowl of Jello. Now, if you look at this, if you're done laughing, you really notice it. Anything that's not the stapler is Jello, and anything that's Jello, not stapler. Okay? It's sitting inside the Jello. That's like what the cytoplasm is. Now we're going to move on to plant cells. Plant cells are different than animal cells. They have one main difference. It's called the cell wall. Now, plants need to be able to grow tall. And in doing so, they need to have a good support system. This is the cell wall. Have you ever taken a leaf and crushed it? Okay, or pulled a weed out of the ground? You may have heard a crunching sound. Well, that's actually you breaking down the cell wall. A tough cell wall lies outside of the cell membrane of a plant cell. Cell walls give plants extra support and protection. Cells that are plant cells are usually drawn in a square or octagon type shape to diagram them. Animal cells are usually drawn in a round spherical shape. Okay, even though inside of our body cells are different, many different shapes, it's still illustrated this way to help people learn the differences between the two. But as you can see, and I know it's hard to see on this PowerPoint, but a lot of the things inside the cell are the same for plants and animal cells. And I'll show you a better picture right now. Okay, on the left is an animal cell. The right is a plant cell, and you should know that already. This is just a review. But the thing that gives it away is this cell wall. Okay, the cell wall, I'll attempt to circle it, okay, surrounds the cell. Okay, it lies just outside the cell membrane. If you notice, the animal cell, I'll try to put an A over here, the animal cell does not have a cell wall. Only the plant cell has a cell wall. Okay, let's move on now to the size of a cell. To stay alive, a cell must take in oxygen, absorb food, and release waste. Because of this, a cell's size must be within a certain limits. For example, red blood cells, tiny, tiny things. A drop of blood could contain 10,000 or more red blood cells. Let's say 1 million, 100,000. 100,000 is a better number. 100,000 red blood cells, just in a drop of red blood. Yet, as we'll learn in the next lesson or two, your body has these road-type ways inside of itself called capillaries, where they're so tiny that only one red blood cell can fit in at a time in a straight line. So size is very important for a cell in order to do its job. Cells replace old or damaged cells by making new cells. It's part of the cell life cycle that we'll go over in 7th grade. But depending on what type of cell it is, its life cycle could be a few hours, a few days, maybe a couple months. It all depends on what it is, what it does, and your overall health. This is the end for Chapter 4, Lesson 1, a review about cells.